Why can simple eggs, a little vinegar, and a beet turn into a deep red, intensely flavorful dish in just one day? Why has this ancient recipe survived for over 100 years when so many culinary traditions have already been lost? And why can such a small detail, like carefully choosing the eggs before boiling them, decide whether the whole jar turns out perfectly or ends up ruined? Stay until the end, because this simple method holds more secrets than it seems. If you have eggs at home, don't leave them forgotten in the fridge. You can pickle them and prepare a historic, humble, and very special dish, the kind that used to accompany almost any meal. These eggs not only add flavor, they are also practical, healthy, and surprisingly delightful when the vinegar, beet, and red onion start working together. Before we begin, I pray that God blesses you with good health. For this recipe, I just bought fresh eggs at the supermarket. When choosing eggs, I always prioritize pasture-raised eggs because they provide superior nutritional value. I don't usually buy factory-farmed eggs, as those hens are kept indoors and fed a highly controlled diet based on processed grains and soy, lacking the variety of natural nutrients they could find in a more free-range environment. But before boiling them, there is one thing I never skip. To prevent a bad egg from ruining the entire batch of pickles, I use a very simple trick. I fill a large bowl with water and carefully place the eggs inside, one by one. If any egg floats to the surface, it means it has gone bad and must be thrown away. Why does this happen? Because when an egg spoils, air pockets form inside it, and those bubbles cause it to float. Fortunately, this time all the eggs stayed at the bottom. That means they are fresh and ready to go. Now we can prepare the base of a recipe that, with patience, will transform these ordinary eggs into something much more memorable, worthy of sharing with the whole family. My grandmother always reminded me of something that seems small, but can completely change the way we store eggs. She used to say that eggs should only be washed and cleaned right before eating or cooking them. Why? Because the shell has a natural protective layer that helps keep the inside safe for longer. If we wash them thoroughly and then store them again, that protection disappears and the eggs can spoil much faster. I don't have a deep or particularly nice pot at home, so today I'm going to use this pan. The important thing is not having the perfect utensil, but treating the eggs with care. Once, because I was rushing, I dropped the eggs directly into boiling water. They hit the hard bottom of the pot, small cracks opened in the shells, and within seconds, the egg whites started leaking everywhere. It was quite an unpleasant, sticky mess that was hard to clean. Since then, I learned a simple lesson. You don't drop eggs into water, you place them in patiently. That's why, this time, I'm going to put them in the pan first, slowly, one by one, before adding the water. This prevents them from hitting the hot metal or breaking before the cooking even begins. For this pickled egg recipe, we need them to be hard-boiled. I will boil them for about 10 minutes from the moment the water starts to boil. It might seem like a minor detail, but it's not. If the eggs are too soft on the inside, it will be much harder to work with them later during the pickling process. The yolk could break, mix with the vinegar, and cloud the entire liquid. And when the liquid gets cloudy, the jar loses that clean, bright, and appetizing look we are going for. Besides, I usually eat 3 eggs every day because I believe they are very good for my health. That's why I like to prepare them well, without rushing and without wasting any. Now the eggs are almost ready, and the next step will be to cool them immediately so the shell peels off easily. Now that the eggs are cooked, it's best not to let them sit out in the air or wait too long. The next step is to prepare a large bowl with water and ice. In cooking, this process is known as thermal shock or an ice bath, and although it seems very simple, it makes a huge difference. Why do so many cooks cool eggs immediately after boiling them? Because it stops the cooking process the exact moment they come out of the hot water. If we let the heat continue working inside, the eggs can become overcooked and the texture will no longer be the same. But there is another, even more practical reason. The ice bath helps immensely with peeling them. When I still have to take care of my young son, any trick that saves me time in the kitchen is worth its weight in gold. That's why I usually leave the eggs in the cold water for 5 to 10 minutes, until I'm sure they have cooled completely, even in the center. If we don't wait long enough, the inside retains heat, and the shell stays stuck to the egg white. Then peeling each egg turns into a little nightmare. The egg white breaks, the surface looks ugly, and we lose that smooth, perfect shape we want for the jar. On the other hand, when the egg is cold to the touch, the shell practically falls off on its own, leaving a smooth, clean surface ready to absorb the color of the pickle. I'm going to peel one now. With just a little touch, the shell starts coming off easily. It's a very satisfying feeling because you know the job is going well. But I also want to show a common mistake that has happened to me many times. The yolk is completely shifted to one side instead of staying in the center. This happens when eggs spend a lot of time in the same position, especially in the fridge. The yolk can slowly sink or move to one side. To prevent this, simply stir the eggs gently in circles during the first few minutes of cooking. That movement helps the yolk stay centered while the egg white begins to harden. It's a simple gesture, but it makes the eggs look much prettier when you cut them later. Now I'm going to sacrifice this batch of boiled eggs to show you exactly what we should avoid. I hope I don't have to do it again, because after so much care, seeing a badly cut egg or one with an off-center yolk is always a bit of a shame. But these small mistakes also teach us, and when you understand why they happen, the next time everything turns out much better. The next step of the recipe requires a beet and a red onion. If you don't have a red onion at home, you can also use a regular onion, but the red onion adds a very special color and aroma. I always like to encourage everyone to eat more beets because they are a very healthy food, and besides, they play a beautiful role in this recipe. They are what helps transform the white eggs into those deep red eggs that look almost like jewels inside the jar. I'm going to cut the beet now, and here I realize that I forgot to put on my gloves. Every time I cut beets, my hands end up stained a very bright red, as if I had been painting with natural ink. I guess putting them on now is a bit late, but better late than never. Who hasn't forgotten a small detail at some point and realized it just when there's no turning back? Now we move on to the red onion. There was a time when my mother suffered quite a bit from hair loss. She tried many things, but the remedy that worked best for her was precisely red onion. The idea was very simple. Blend the onion until it's fine, strain it through a cloth to get only the pure juice, mix that juice with a little coconut oil, and massage the scalp for about 10 minutes. Over time, her hair started growing back stronger, thicker, and more beautiful. That's why, every time I use red onion, I remember that story. In this recipe, besides adding flavor to the pickle, it also reminds us how some simple kitchen ingredients can hold traditional uses that many families have preserved for years. Now it's time to prepare the liquid, where the eggs will change color and flavor. I'll put the already chopped red onion in the pan, along with the beet I prepared earlier. As soon as these two ingredients come into contact with the vinegar, they will start releasing that deep tone that will later dye the egg white little by little. Next, I'm going to add a cup of white vinegar, although you can also use rice vinegar. The amount is approximately 250 milliliters. This vinegar will be the base of the pickle, the ingredient that preserves, awakens the flavor, and turns ordinary boiled eggs into something completely different. But if we only use vinegar, the result can be too acidic, too strong, and hard to enjoy. That's why I also add a cup of sugar. The sugar isn't there to turn the recipe into a dessert, but to balance the acidity and soften that intense hit of the vinegar. Then I add about 8 whole cloves, which provide a warm, deep, and very pleasant aroma. Finally, I add 2 tablespoons of white salt. Here it's important to remember one detail. It's best to avoid iodized salt because it's not the best option for making pickles. Now I turn on the heat and stir gently. There's no need to boil it vigorously or cook it for a long time. We just want the sugar and salt to dissolve completely, and the warm water helps make this process much faster. If we use too much heat or leave the mixture cooking longer than necessary, we could lose some of those important nutrients we want to preserve. So a brief, calm, and careful mix is enough. When everything is well dissolved, I turn off the heat and let the liquid cool a bit before pouring it into the jars. Meanwhile, I already have 2 glass jars prepared. I have sterilized them with hot water and let them air dry, so they are clean and safe. First, I place the eggs inside, then I add a layer of red onion and beet on top. When everything is arranged, I pour the liquid until it covers them completely. This step is essential. If the ingredients are left out of the liquid, they can come into contact with the air, Mold can appear and ruin all the work before it even reaches the fridge. We now have 2 jars full of pickled eggs, with the beets, red onion, and liquid covering everything completely. Now I'll take them straight to the fridge to keep them fresh and safe. You don't have to wait too long to try them. Usually after a day or 2, they are ready to eat. But here is one of the most beautiful parts of this recipe. The longer they sit, the deeper that pink and purple color becomes as it slowly seeps into the egg white. Sometimes when I have a free hand, I carefully turn the jars upside down. Why do this? Because it moves the liquid inside and distributes the flavor better from top to bottom. It also helps the color become more uniform, without any spots that are too light or less soaked. It's a simple gesture, but it makes a difference when we want every egg to look and taste the same. This jar has been resting in the fridge for just 1 day. Upon opening it, you immediately notice that classic pickled aroma, tart, fresh, and slightly sweet. And if we look at the eggs, the change is already obvious. The white has started to take on an intense hue, as if the beets had left a slow, beautiful mark on each piece. These pickled eggs were once a traditional snack in 19th century European bars. Before refrigerators existed, many families used this method to preserve protein for the winter. They prepared food like this in the spring and summer when it was more readily available, to ensure they had food during the long, dark months. Now I'm going to cut one open to show you the inside. After just 1 day, the red pigment has already started to advance toward the center. If left longer, that color will continue to penetrate until it even gets close to the yolk. When you taste it, you can perceive a mild sweetness from the beets, mixed with a delicate touch of red onion. The flavor is light, pleasant, and pairs very well with other dishes. I really enjoy these eggs and often prepare a jar to take to work, especially along with the rice I bring from home. If you found this tip helpful, please like the video, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss any more natural cooking and wellness secrets. You can also watch other videos on the screen. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.